Hi, welcome to SalesForce training. My name is Chandan. We'll be looking at the topic, which is designing applications for multiple users. So the objectives covered during this screencast would be how to control access to the data in Salesforce. What are the different licenses Salesforce has, and let's try to get an overview of that. Then how to control the data access or the UI or the permissions using a feature called as profiles. So we will learn more about profiles, what it can be used in Salesforce, how it can be used, and which features can be controlled using that. At the same time, we would also discuss a concept called as, or rather, a feature set called as the page layouts and record types, and how we can configure different UI or user interface depending on a different type of a user. For example, if a salesperson is logging in, he may see a different page being displayed to him. Maybe it would have around 10 or 12 fields, whereas if a sales manager is logging in, he may end up seeing around, let's assume, a page which is totally different from the one the salesperson sees. I would like to talk about that as well when we go along. So these are the main objectives or main topics that would be covered in this particular screencast. So before even we go in and dig deeper, let's look into the design aspect of how do we control or how do we create applications, or how do we design an application which caters to different type of users who have different needs or different actions they perform, and different data needs to be visible depending on the kind of role they are in. So let's discuss about the designing aspect of it. So the important part would be to understand who is going to use this application. So you need to identify the user first, because end of the day we need to make sure this user has been assigned a proper profile, and that particular profile can let him do whatever he wishes to do, right? So that's where my second pointer would come in, which talks about what will these users expect to see and do, right? So the second point is that. The third one would be what data is most important. So we need to understand which data would be most important to this particular user, which would help us in designing the objects or creating the tabs or creating the application and setting the object he is looking at the most as his default. So whenever he logs in into Salesforce, he can directly access the application he is looking for and an object which could be defaulted as the page. So that's where we need to consider which data he'll be using the most. Then let's talk about which user should be able to customize the app. So this is where we can give them access to creating applications. So we need to identify the type of users who should be given this particular privilege. And the last aspect would be to make the user experience more streamlined and efficient. So this is where my third point comes into play as well. So if you know what this particular group of users are concentrating on, what kind of a job they are performing. For example, salespersons, they are mostly into the records like leads, opportunities, and accounts. So similarly, if I'm trying to create a new application, let's assume we would like to create an application called as recruitment, then we need to identify the different roles that is available inside that recruitment application, and we need to come out with different page layouts, but keeping in mind the UI looks similar. They don't have difficulties in understanding the UI. We need to keep in mind the design principles the Salesforce has been using for its out-of-the-box application, so that as long as we make it streamlined with the out-of-the-box design principles of Salesforce while designing our own custom applications, that would be fantastic. Right. So with respect to designing phase, let's take a scenario here. So as I said earlier, I would like to create an application for recruitment. We would be having different objects that requires, which are not available in out of the box Salesforce. So we need new custom objects like positions, candidates, reviews, and then we will have different roles or group of users, like there will be recruiters, there will be hiring managers, there will be interviewers. So we need to come up with a data design. This particular slide talks about that, right? So we are not going into detail about the UI design at this moment of time, but it is always advisable to start with the functional design, go and do the data design, and then go and do a system or UI detail design. For at present, what we are talking about is a particular slide which concentrates on the data design aspect. So if you take a look here, the recruiter has read, create, and edit privileges or permissions on positions, candidates, and reviews custom objects. Hiring manager has RCE on positions, read on candidates, RCE on reviews. Similarly, interview have read, and RCE on reviews. So this is the data design that we're talking about. At the same time, we are also trying to put in access restriction. In other words, if you take a look at the hiring manager, he has the most access. So he has access to the most data. When we talk about the reviews, he can read the data, he can create the data, he can edit the data, not only the data that is owned by him, also the data which is shared with him, either directly shared data or through a parent, right? So for example, there is a job application and there is a interview being done, and he wrote a review. So if the job application is shared with the hiring manager, he will have the edit permissions on the review record as well. So this is the type of data design which needs to be done before even go and implement the data access using profiles. Great. Now let's talk about licenses. So what are the different types of licenses Salesforce has, and how they are categorized. So by default, at a very high level, Salesforce categorizes them into two. The first one is called as the user license. The second one is called as a feature license. A user license is a kind of a base license that you require, or a particular user requires to be assigned even before he can access the Salesforce website or Salesforce application. Now, this particular user license could be of several types. Maybe I'll take only a couple of examples here. Let's see. There is a user license called as Salesforce. There is one more called as Salesforce Platform or Force.com One App. So these are some of the examples related to the user licenses. If you want to compare the difference between Salesforce and Salesforce Platform, Salesforce user license is a full license that would give access to the Salesforce out of the box features, the CRM features which are available. But if you are creating an application on the force.com and you don't intend to use the out-of-the-box CRM features of Salesforce, then you can buy the Salesforce platform license. So any custom applications that you built on Salesforce platform requires this particular uh, Salesforce platform license. Similarly, like if you take a look at the Force.com One app, so this gives you access to only one application that is built on a Salesforce platform, which is Force.com, right? So that's how they are classified or categorized as. So that's about user license. Then if you're talking about feature licenses, feature licenses are the additional licenses which sits on top of a user license. So you need to have a user license, and then you can top it up with the additional feature licenses. For example, if you want to give a particular user, let's assume he is your sales director, and he keeps on flying in and out, and at present the flights or the aeroplanes do not have Wi-Fi. Very soon it's coming in, but at present they don't have Wi-Fi, so they won't be able to connect to the sorry about that, to the internet. So they need the offline capability. This guy is very motivated. He always wants to make money for the company, and he always wants to work. So whenever he's flying in, he would like to use that time. So he needs a feature set or a feature license of offline user, which is on top of the existing user license. He may be using the Salesforce user license, and plus an offline user license would give him access to carry the data in offline mode. So that those are the license type we are discussing. So if you want to know where in Salesforce you can see the licenses, how can you go and look at them, who is using what license, or how many licenses are available? Here it is. So please go to the setup. So you have to click on your name for that, then go to the setup area, and in the setup area go to your company profile, click on company profile to access company information, and you should be able to get the details of the user licenses it is using. So for example, in this case, these are the different type of user licenses bought by this particular company. Charter external, we have around 500. The Salesforce full license is 25, platform is 1, and so on. Similarly, for feature licenses, we have marketing user around 25, offline user around 25 of them, and you can also see how many of them are being used and how many are left for you to assign it to the new user. So this gives you an overview of the licenses, both user as well as feature licenses. Now, if you want to know who is using which license, you can go to the users area and get the details. To do that, go to your manage users, click on the users, and you should be able to get a list of users, and you can click on any user. For example, I would like to know Mario is using what type of a license. So click on that, and you should be able to see he is using SalesForce user license. SalesForce user license. So this is how you can see the details of the licenses and which user is assigned for which license. So that was about license types. Let's go ahead, let's take a look at the next topic. The next topic we'll be discussing is profiles. Alright, let's try to get an idea about profiles. What do we mean by profiles here, and why do we need profiles? So as we remember, the main discussion or main topic of this particular recording is designing applications for multiple users, right? So when we say multiple users, different type of users, different data requirements for different users. User A needs access to ABCD table, but he should not see data which is inside table H, whereas user B requires AB table, and he should see the data which is in table H. So there are different ifs and buts. At the same time, a particular user may require a different UI, so we should be able to within the same object, user A needs to see only 10 fields, and user B needs to see maybe 14 fields. So I need to come out with two different pages for them, and we can achieve that using a concept called as page layouts, which is again linked back to the profiles. So again, talking about profiles, what do we mean by that? Basically, it is grouping the users based on the type of activities they do. So indirectly, it is almost linking it up to their job title. So if a user, for example, a hiring manager could be a profile, right? A recruiter could be a profile. So there could be hundreds of recruiters or users who do the recruiter job role, or the functions that is covered under this particular recruiter job title. So what we can do is, instead of going and configuring each and every user, what he can do, what he can't do, what access he has, what we can do is we can group them into profiles. So we can create a profile and assign the users who would be falling under this particular job title to this profile. So in a way, we are minimizing the administration efficiently. So we are bringing up the productivity when it comes to administering the SalesForce, managing users and giving them access rights. Yeah. So that's the concept of profiles. Now, what all profiles can do? Profiles can be used to set up tabs. It can be used to set up login hours and IP ranges. So what does that mean? If a user belonging to this particular profile can only log in into SalesForce only during this time frame, and only from this particular IP range, a security feature again. So you would know your data is not compromised, and the moment there is there is a somebody else is trying to log in using some different IP ranges, it would never let you in. So these are more of security features. Then we have something called as permissions. So I will take you through the permissions in a while. We'll go through the screen related to the permission. They are divided into general user permissions, administrative permissions, and standard and custom objects CRUD permissions, that is CRUD CRUD, that is create, read, update, and delete permissions, as it's are known as. So that would be the permissions part of it. Then we have access to the data. So this is where we can use the concept of field level security. Then we have how can we change the UI for different users. That's where we use the concept of record types and page layouts, right? So you define a record type, and if a user is using a record type A, he will get a page layout A, or you can directly use the concept of page layouts. So let me get into the SalesForce application and showcase. Let's start with the profile. Let's go and create a profile, and then let's go and assign this profile. Then I will go through the permissions part of it. Then I will go through the field level security part of it, and the last demo would be on how to create record types and page layouts, right? So I'll demo through them. And while demoing, we can discuss more. We can try to understand more about the profiles itself. So let me switch on to the application, and here is the application. So let's go and take a look at the profiles. So when we talk about profiles, there are two types of profiles. One are out of the box profiles, or the standard profiles. If you notice here in the custom column, there is no tick box, or there is no tick mark, which indicates all of them are standard profiles. So you can also create a custom profile. So let's start with the custom profile. Let me call this as a new profile, which would be based on a standard profile, and I will call this as custom, maybe a recruiter profile. Let's call this as custom recruiter profile, or rather, let me change that. Let me use a hiring manager profile. Let me call this as custom hiring manager profile. So let's save this. So it is cloning a profile for me, and it has come up with a new profile, and now I can go and edit it. Yeah. So if you notice here, right on the top, you have page layouts. So you can go and assign page layouts to different objects. So for standard objects as well as custom objects. So there are several custom objects that we have. So you can go and assign page layouts. For that, you need to create a page layout first, and then you can go ahead and assign a different page layout at the profile level, right? So then let's go and take a look at the field level security. We are talking about that earlier. What does this do is, for example, let's go and take a look at the candidate object, and you can specify which fields he has access to, right? Which fields he has access to, and which fields are visible for him, right? So if he has visibility, and if he has edit permission, then he can modify that. And if he has visibility, but you can still make sure he can only see the data by putting a checkbox in the read-only part, right? So we'll come back to this later. It's kind of a straightforward. You need to decide which field in this particular object, this particular profile can have access to, and if he has access to, what he can do with that, whether he can only read or whether he'll be able to edit that. So you can specify that in the field level security. So that is field level security for you. Then let's go and take a look at custom applications. If you have created any custom applications, whether he has access to them. The custom applications are shown right on the top here. So these are your applications. If you come up with different application and you would like to showcase which application needs to be available for the user, that's what you specify in here, right? So I will showcase that later as well. That brings us to the standard tab settings, right? So for out of the box objects and for the custom objects, so you can set it as whether it is hidden or whether it is on, and so on. Then we have record type settings. So if you have different record types, I will talk about this as well as you go along. You can choose to set them. I will come back with the demo on record type later. And that brings us to the administrative privileges. So for example, whether he can view the setup and configuration, whether he can send out email messages, whether he can invite customers to the charter. These are some of the administrative privileges. Other than that, you have general user privileges. For example, whether he can edit tasks, export the reports, or import the contacts, and so on. And this is where the standard object permissions can be customized. These are the out-of-the-box objects, and these are the custom object permissions. So at present, this particular profile do not have access to custom objects. So let me go and give them access. So I click on edit and I go down to the custom object permission area and I give them access to right. So let me not give him access to the rest. He will only have access to the candidates, the interviewers, job applications, and reviews. Right, let's assume. And here you go. So this is how you set up the permission. So what we did now was we set up object level permission for him. So what does that indicate? If he logs in, a person who has this profile, if he logs in, he would be able to see this particular out-of-the-box objects. So to showcase, let me try to log in as Mario first. So here I go. I log in as Mario. So right now I'm logged in as Mario. So if I would like to see the access to the objects, I click on this plus mark, and you can notice here right now I do not have access to the custom objects, right? Like reviews or job applications. Why? Because if you look at Mario's profile, let me log him out and go back to the user and take a look at Mario's profile. He has been assigned a standard user profile which do not have access to the custom objects. So what would I do now is I will give him the custom hiring manager profile and save it. Once I do that, if I go back to if I go and log in as Mario, let me try that. So I go back to the user screen and log in as Mario, and now if you notice, I should be able to get the access to reviews, access to job applications, access to interviewers. So instead of going and clicking on all tabs and picking it up, what I can do is I can create an application and associate these objects to that application. So let me do that stuff. So I log out and I go to customization area and sorry, I go to create area and create applications, and let me create a new application and I call this as recruitment. Right, this is my recruitment application. So I save this and it would ask me to insert an image. If you have one, please do so. I will stick to the existing image. And what are the tabs that should be shown when you choose this application? So in this scenario, it's purely I would select a purely custom, so objects, then all my custom objects I would showcase here. So maybe the first one could be I will bring this down. So candidates, job applications, offers, reviews, interviewers, and job posting site. So let's put this up here. So and what is the default landing tab? You can choose that as well. Yeah, you can choose the default landing tab. So for the time being, let's stick to home. Then go next and specify who should this particular app should be visible to. I'm going to select custom hiring manager and I'm going to make it as default, and let me go and save this. Right, so let's check whether if I log in as Mario now, do I get to see that application and whether my tabs are displayed differently. So I go to the manage users again, take a look at the users. Let me go and log in as Mario. Log in as Mario. So now let me go and select recruitment app, and here you go. When I select the recruitment application, I can see I have candidates, job applications, reviews, and interviews, which are available for me right on the top. Yeah. So whereas offers are not available because at the object level I do not have access to offers. Yeah. So if you want to add any additional tabs from other applications, you can choose to add them as well from here. So this is how you can customize tab settings for different users and associate it with the profile. So this is how the tab settings work. Next, let's go and take a look at let me log out as Mario and go and take a look at the profiles, the hiring profile, hiring manager profile, and take a look at the IP. Sorry. Let's go and take a look at the hiring manager profile. And this is where you can specify the login IP ranges. Yeah, so here you can go and you can specify your login hours, what time, and similarly which IP range he can log in from, which IP ranges he can log in from. So you can enter those. Right. So we took a look at the profiles. We took a look at the tab settings. We took a look at the permissions, the object level permission, the CRUD permissions that we talk about. We took a look at the field level security. So now let's go and see something called as record types, right? To demo this particular feature of Salesforce, what I will do is, let's talk about a scenario now. Um, for example, I have a candidate, and this candidate is looking for um, a full-time permanent role, and there could be a candidate who is looking for part-time hourly based uh, job, right? So in this case, what I need to do is, if the candidate is looking for a full-time job opportunity, I would like to capture his salary expectation, whereas if the candidate is looking for a part-time job opportunity, I would like to capture his hourly rate, right? So, and both of them I would like to separate it out, so as such that the data entry person, or my HR person who is creating this record, will not get confused. If the record type is full time, then the salary expected would be displayed on the page layout. If the record type is part-time, then hourly rate will be displayed on the page layout. So in that sense, I'm going to make sure the business logic is implemented. Instead of training them to choose a different drop down and things like that, we are creating a different page layout and ensuring the business logic is implemented. If the candidate is looking for full time, expected salary needs to be captured. If the candidate is looking for part time, hourly rate needs to be captured. So to do that, let's go to the candidate object. So I'm going into the custom objects area. So going and taking a look at the candidate object, and let me go and create record types. So let me see if there are any record types available. Yeah, there is one. So I have one record type called as full time employee. Let me go and create one more record type. I will call this as part-time, right? So we can fill in the details as well. For the time being, I will not. So I'm going to pick up, I will enable this for contract custom hiring manager, and then go and pick up a layout, right? So this is where you need to ensure you have created a page layout even before you go and create a record type, right? So so to implement this, what I will do is, let me cancel this. I go back and create different page layouts, right? So let me create a new page layout, and let me call this page layout based on candidate layout, and I will call this full time. So the page layout full time should have expected salary field, which already it has. So let me just save this. Now let me create one more page layout, a new one. I call this as part-time. Part-time, and in this, instead of expected salary, I will go and add in. I will go and add in hourly rate, rate per hour. So that would be my field. Okay. So now let me save this page layout. So now I have two page layouts. If the one page layout is for full-time, the another one is for the part-time. Now let me go and create record types, and I already have a full-time record type. Let me go and edit this and if this is a full-time record, then I will go and assign it to a different page layout. So my page layout is full-time. I need to go and associate that for hiring manager. And I'll be assigning full-time page layout. Okay, so by default he will get a full-time page layout. Then let me go back and create another layout called as part-time. So I'm going back to the profiles area. So profiles, and take a look at my oh, rather, sorry, I need to go to the objects and take a look at the candidate object and create a record type. And now I'm trying to create a new record type, which is part-time. And for this record type I need to go and this is available for a hiring manager, and I go and select a page layout for that, which is going to be a part-time page layout, right? And let's save this. That's perfect. So now what let's go and test it out whether this particular functionality works or not. So let's go to users and log in as Mario. So Mr. Mario, yes, okay, let me log in as Mario, and if I want to create candidates, I click on the candidates and let me create a new candidate. And you can notice it would ask me to choose a record type, and it would give me both. So in this case the record type is full-time. Let's assume the first record I would create is for a full-time employee or a, so I select new candidate. I will specify the details, but you can notice you have expected salary here. So let me cancel that. Let me try the other one. Let me click on new again. Let me try the part-time and select continue, and you can notice now there is a rate per hour field. So to implement this particular business logic, that is if the candidate is applying for a full-time employment, then we need to capture the expected salary, and if he is applying for a part-time employment, then we need to capture the rate per hour. So this kind of a business logic can be implemented by using the concept of record types and page layouts. So that brings us to end of this particular recording session. I'll be coming up with more. We'll be sharing with you guys as well. Thank you so much.